I decided today to hike out to last year's winter base camp. I've been here since then, obviously, and I've tore most of it. Well, I'd say about half of it down. And I'm gonna be trying like a new shelter idea. Definitely not a base camp type situation. I just want to clear this area out. I will try to reuse some of this, some of these like logs or trees, I guess, because they're not quite log size. But yeah, I got a shelter concept that I've never tried before that I want to try tonight. Right now, it is should be about 35, 37. The high for today is 40, and it should hit 40 in about, I don't know, about another hour. But then the low for tonight, once again, it's a coincidence that it's the same as the last time. It's going to be 19 degrees Fahrenheit, and the weather's showing a wind speed of 10 to 12 miles an hour. Last time it said 5 and it ended up reaching 20. So I definitely want to be somewhat more prepared for that. But tonight's shelter relies on a fire because I've only brought a wool blanket with me for, like a personal cover element, sleeping situation. No sleeping pad, just a canvas tarp, my wool blanket, and my emergency space blanket. So I got something that should definitely work, but we definitely got to get to it, and that way we can get to eating some food. So this main ridge pole from that last shelter that we've done has held up very, very well. It's still extremely solid. The only reason why it's slanted whatsoever is because when I come down here and pushed all these pipe pieces off to try to, take it down a little bit. But we're going to take and cut this. I'm going to see if I can leverage this and get the rest of those on that opposite side. And we can leave those there aside from like the 2 or 3 that we want to use for the night shelter. And then I'm going to kind of work on constructing a better fire pit / windbreak area. I don't know, I'm very curious to see how the night shelter works out. Oh, there we go. Making sure this lodge with those other ones on there. That other side because that rope just won't snap. So I got that tore down, and now we've got this space open. So still got somewhat of this left wall that's stacked up a bit. Then we got a bit of a back. That's not really going to matter that much for this because this is going to be like 100% windproof anyways. I hadn't originally planned on doing this here, and ideally I would have liked to have had my emergency space blanket down on the ground first before I put this up in its configuration. I mean, like right now, I just need to get it out and get the area sorted before I cut the like what's going to be the support poles. But I'm going to end up using the emergency space blanket as my moisture barrier, and I'm going to stuff a bunch of leaves under there. Well, this is already so closed in, and where all the debris and stuff I had on top of that lean-to shelter has a bunch of sticks and stuff like interwoven to keep things from dropping through those gaps that was in it. I can't really use that unless you want to sleep on a bunch of sticks. So gathering the leaves and everything for the bedding is going to take a little bit longer than I had planned on, but it's all good. I just want to get this situated. That way I can kind of figure out what I'm going to do with the fire, because I need to get a decent fire going so I can end up cooking my food. So let's get this part situated. I'm going to stow away the wool blanket right now so we don't get it too dirty. The gunk that was on this thing. So yeah, that's going to have a little bit of overhang, and I'll figure out where I need to have my support poles at along the sides, but that'll be a perfect centerpiece. Stake to put down on that back side at the center, and we're going to end up tucking those back edges in and staking them down too. All I got to do now is line up these notches and then tie them up. Stand up the way we want them to. And then we can use the rest of it to kind of lash them out once we get them exactly where we want them. Just like that, we have a nice roomy shelter that is just big enough to set up in. Once again, I'm 5'10" for reference. And you could also stake those out even more, but I got these edges tucked in. I'm gonna put debris around the edges. It's already got so much around the edges already. But now for the thing that didn't go according to plan, since I decided to do it here, is I'm going to take my reusable emergency space blanket, pile up leaves, pile them up in front of this after I get rid of clearing out all of these sticks and everything. Then I'm going to stuff this area with leaves and then put my emergency space blanket on top of it to help to make a bed, to help stop any conduction from the ground that might happen. and so on and so forth. About 40 degrees now. I took my BDU off, took the shemagh off from around my head because like it's still a little breezy, but it's only, like I said, 39, 40 degrees. 40 is supposed to be the high for the day, and now it's like 1 or 2 o'clock, so it should be around where the time frame matches up. But so I got 3 tarp fulls. I mean, right now we're working with maybe like certain parts we got like a full 12 inches. But I'd say the average is about 7 or 8 inches of, like, you know, just basically leaves and pine needles. But they're going to get depressed, so before I do my final tuck, before I like tuck this in the way that I'm going to have it tonight, I'm going to lay this on top roughly, start like laying on it, rolling around, get this depressed a little bit between now and later. I need to go ahead and get my fire area cleaned up, get it sorted because I'm very hungry. And then I'll add more leaves and stuff to it right before bed so that we end up having a nice compression of about hopefully 4 to 6 inches of stuff between us and the ground. So there's that. With our wool blanket, essentially this is going to be night shelter. So I mean, I can scoot. I might end up sleeping at somewhat of a angle, kind of like this, and then have keep my bag and stuff right here so I can have access to everything. And then I'll make something to use as a pillow. This is our old fire pit situation, so obviously there's stuff. Luckily, there's still some wood here we can use. Let me move I'm gonna throw my jacket on top of the space blanket. Basically that wooden fire reflector is nothing but a wind block at this point, but I'm also going to see if I can go find some more rocks. I would like a little bit more of a boundary or a barrier in between the fire and the wind, and there's plenty of rocks around here. I do want to dig this out just a little bit. This is still really rooted in. To get a fire going because I am starving, so I found a bunch of yellow poplar bark, so I'm gonna start processing that up. This lower end is damp, so I'm gonna leave it kind of hanging off, and just a nice good bit of yellow poplar bark, nice and shredded. It is slightly damp and it's a bit breezy right now, but I think all in all we should be good to go. I've got that size ready. Let me break up a couple next level pieces. Sticks ready, got that ready. What I've done was I actually took a small piece of sandpaper and sanded down the edge of the coating on my K-bar, so now like the back edge can throw a decent bit of sparks off the old ferro rod. So we're going to tuck this under here and give her a go. Oh wow, okay. I didn't expect to get it on the second one. Okay, that right there, that right there is picking up nicely. Let's get that shifted over. The breeze is actually helping us more than I thought it would. But it's air thirsty where it was a little damp. But I'm glad I've done that to my cable. I'm gonna let that heat kind of get that dried out a little bit before I blow on it again. I have took and let me get on the other side of that. Anyways, so I have slept and made this type of shelter quite a few times, so it works very well. The one thing that I've never done is make some type of, you know, they call it a super shelter, which is basically you take a piece of clear or semi-clear sheet plastic, in this case a drop cloth, and you put it up the front. Now normally people do this with a lean-to type shelter, but I'm going to try it with this mainly because the only drop cloth I could find was this one from Dollar General, and it is only 0.7 mils, so it's not even 1 mil thick, so it's not thick at all. But it's a 9x12, so I'm going to try to double it, if not triple it up over that entranceway, and hopefully that works and it doesn't melt right away. But I want to go ahead and get that done because it's supposed to get windier later, so I don't want to be fighting this when it's super windy. But all in all, it's going to be hit or miss. It's going to be experimental. Worst case scenario, this setup, once I get more leaves and stuff under, it's more than enough just to keep me warm, because I got another wool sweater another wool sweater, a really thick wool sweater in my backpack, plus those big mittens. Got my clothes, got that leather jacket, and I got that shelter, plus a poncho that I could take and drape over the front just to keep the wind off, so we'll be peachy. Like I said, we're going to try it out, but I think this is going to end up being a, oh yeah, look at that. I'm just trying to double it up in this one direction, so okay, so I mean that's semi-decent in all honesty. I mean, I cannot get the fire any closer than that. Like if you had a nice 5 mil or even like a 3 mil thick piece of like drop cloth or something, you could, but that's honestly the best I can do for right now. So I'm gonna let that burn down a little bit more. I'm gonna go get some wood, and then hopefully we can make some nice hot food. I went ahead and put a lot more insulation underneath my sleeping pad, got firewood, and then now like it's really starting to get dark and I'm extremely hungry. Like it was going to be taken, like I thought about cooking first, even though cooking's really only warming up food, consider what we got tonight, but I didn't want to be fooling around too much like once it got really dark, because like this thing right here around the edges and stuff, like the main stress point's already got a lot of holes in it, so and that's my bag leaning against it. I took and brought out this really small lantern with me that I've never used before. I got it during Christmas. It's just like one of those cheap little slide up lanterns. So I'm going to use it on the inside tonight and just, you know, test her out. I might take, because I got a tent camping thing planned for not too long from now. But yeah, we'll try that out now, and then, you know, if it can pass this test, then we might as well use it in the tent at some point. But so we're going to be using that Stanley cup again, because we've got a can of stuff the exact same size as that beef stew, but it's not beef stew. We've got the Armor chili with beans, baby. This right here is my favorite canned chili beans. Like homemade's way better, but as far as canned food goes, this is one of my favorite types. So you know, like in the last one, it's the same size can as that beef stew. I do have utensils in that bad boy, so I'm going to take the can opener. I'm not going to show the whole video because like last time that did take longer than I thought it would, showing you know how long it took to open this. But Once I get this open, we'll pour her in that and we'll get her cooking on the fire. So I got my chili beans in this right here. This is the same Stanley cup. I've got my stick. I'm trying to use my headlamp. I could turn my camera light on, but I'm trying to save some battery right now. Got my stick right there that I'm going to use to stir it. I'm going to put it on there and we're going to get that cooking. Got my extra SD card, so I've only got about 30 minutes worth of footage left. So move on the inside of the tent. I got a bunch of wood stored up over there. That shows up over in that corner where I can reach out, throw it on there. But this has been down pretty much the whole time, other than me putting my gear in there and my wool blanket and getting the sizing and stuff situated. So I'm very curious to see how warm it is in there, because this is a very small fire and it's pretty far away. If you had like a lot thicker meal plastic, you could move this fire probably somewhere between 6 and 12 inches closer before you had to worry about melting, depending on like the size that you want to go with. But if you had a long fire about 2 times this, or like let's say like if you had a long fire that was about 4 to 6 feet long at this distance or even further back, then I'm sure it would warm something like this up great, but it'd still probably melt this outer layer of plastic, because I got about 3 layers deep. That's what we got going, our good old chili beans. I've only got a few 14 minutes left. Okay, this is like, honestly, this is so unprofessional, but like that right there, that is our that's the dinner for tonight. It's chili beans, it's armor, you see what it is. I'm gonna eat this and then we're gonna work on getting on the inside of our shelter. I will say this, that the where I've got such a nice thick bed of coals where I dug that out and that's built up, there is so much heat radiating up through there I could barely sit beside it. So I'm looking forward to seeing how warm it is on the inside of that shelter. Okay, so I added a lot more wood to the fire. That's going to catch up, but I will say this, I am going to have to take and bring you guys in with me to the shelter, because once I get in and I tuck everything where it's supposed to go, then I ain't really going to be able to come back out and retrieve the camera, because like if this was a thicker ply or a thicker meal piece of plastic, then I wouldn't mind, but right now we're just kind of having to go with the equipment that we got. So I'm going to make a really small opening. I got is going right there in that corner against that pole. The axe kind of the same way. Got my water right there. There's the wool blanket. But then here we have our opening, and to show you guys how we're going to close it before that melts, we're going to pull that in, bring this edge around, tuck it, and then reach on the outside and roll that towards us. Now I'm going to be down here where this is where the foot area is, and we're completely enclosed. That does flap, but it is very secure. Like that's not going to like rip out of the ground or out of the sides tonight, unless it gets beyond you know, the 10 miles an hour wind it's supposed to. But now I'm going to take and roll my wool blanket out, and once I get that situated, I will come back to you guys and let you know how the comfort level is. We got our first guest. We got a nice little spider up in here. What are you doing, spider buddy? Where you at? Crawl for me. There you go. Now we're inside. Now, from what I said earlier, I decided to change my approach a little bit. I'm actually going to sleep with my head up towards this lower end, which with this type of shelter, it's the very first time I've done that. But this greenhouse effect from this plastic, even though it's, like I said, it's about 3 layers of the 0.7 mil, so I guess closer to about 2.5 total milness. But I do not have, let me turn this on. Like right now, I'm just trying to test out my lantern brightness, and honestly, friend, here it's amazing, especially with that nice, soft, you know, fire glow. right now I could be in here in just a flannel and be comfortable. The temperature outside right now is about 30 degrees. It's going to get down to 19. Stoke the fire up. Everything's peachy. Maybe I can just turn that on. And, you know, I got the floor pulled up there. Everything's tucked in nice. It has been very, like, breezy. But I don't think we're going to have any issues whatsoever. Let me take and turn the camera light on once more so you can see. That's not urine, by the way. That is a electrolyte drink that I brought with me, and I'll drink it just to prove it to you. Not urine. Either that, or if it was, then Bear Grylls better step aside. But so I'm going to be using that BDU top of mine. Where'd it go? That BDU top of mine is like a, well, it's a pillow, and I'm going to sleep with my head here and my legs out towards the front. Oh, hello headlamp, don't leave me now. I've got my wool blanket and everything situated. But, I mean, considering the fact that I got my sweater and, like, as warm as it is in here right now, like, I know that once the fire dies down later in the middle of the night, I'm either going to have to get up and go towards the front and add more wood, which is completely fine, or I'm going to chill here and get cold and add more clothing. And in both cases, that's pretty, you know, I mean, that's how it goes. That's the fun of doing this. So, there's really nothing else to do. Once again, I did bring my Bluetooth earbuds. Hopefully, too many people don't find that cheating. But once again, I'm doing this for practice and enjoyment. So I want to enjoy my time out here in the woods and trying out new shelters and new ideas and food and so on and so forth. So with that being said, you know, we've got our fun stuff going on over there. Got the fire, everything else, just in case you want a full 360 of this mansion. And we got all that going on back there. I didn't quite get it tucked the way that I wanted to, but that was just because of the haste that I had to deal with setting everything up. But yeah, I'm gonna take and chill out, listen to some music, make sure I got all my firewood and stuff. I might take and set some firewood in here, honestly, so I can just be a lot easier in the middle of the night, because I get pretty groggy after I fall asleep. But yeah, so I will talk to you fine ladies and gentlemen in the morning. Good morning, guys. So right now it's about 10:30 or a little after. This turned out to be like an incredibly warm shelter setup. Like, you know, there's been plenty of people that's showcased and done these like greenhouse effect type thing with plastic, but like I said, I've never tried it. But I can say last night got down to 19 degrees. The winds was about 10 miles an hour, and it stayed extremely warm. This thing held heat a lot better than I thought it would. Like, obviously, I knew that it would heat up, you know, when the fire is going, but it's held heat amazingly. Like right now, like I said, it's 10:30 or 11, so it's warmed up a lot from like what it was in the middle of the night. But I'm able to, you know, have my hands out. So I ended up putting the leather jacket on. I didn't need the wool sweater that I brought. I did leave my muck boots on to keep, you know, so I had no issue with my feet, and just with the wool blanket, and I used my BDU as a pillow, and I ended up mainly sleeping kind of like on my side in a not a full-on fetal position, but you know, just kind of cuddled up and into a ball and slept great. I ended up having plenty of insulation and stuff of like leaves and stuff underneath the emergency space blanket. The only place where I felt a little bit of a cool spot was like on my hip, where my hip pressed down, but I think that was just like an area that ended up getting shifted around. But all in all, I really like this this shelter setup, and I will use it again very soon. I just need to get a thicker you know, a thicker meal piece of plastic, because that thing has holes. Like the main section, that front part, because like there's nothing against it's fine, but like around the edges and stuff where it's coming in contact with those poles, and you know, having to move them, and that log I got at the bottom to hold it down, it's riddled with holes now. So all in all, great trip. Now I'm just gonna take and pack everything up and go home and get some coffee, make some food, and just gear up for the next one. So thanks for watching, guys. Be sure to hit that thumbs up button, subscribe if you haven't already, share your friends, check the links in the description of my other channels, sub to those as well, and until the next one, adios.